Out she goes, and what a view! Fantastic. A telescopic view of the Great Exhibition in 1851 in Queen Victoria, resplendent with an enormous crowd of people opening up, and it's all produced in this wonderful perspective idea where you've got all the depth planes, one after the other, making it look fabulously rich in three-dimensional detail. When you look through the peephole, it all comes into the right perspective. A very clever idea, been produced several other times at different times, but it started really with the Victorians doing this. It's a wonderful optical toy, a telescope view. It came with a nice box too. So interiors, that was the interior of the Great Exhibition, Crystal Palace. But coming right up to date, here's another interior. This is made in Mexico. It's made from bamboo, as you can see. It's got a little tag to hold it up, and inside, when you open up, surprise, you suddenly see a whole row of little scenarios, little vistas. It's actually religious and secular down in two rows. This is scenes from Mexican villages, and this is scenes from the Passion of Christ, from the Last Supper through to the crucifixion, coming into Jerusalem on the donkey. Lovely little thing to hang up on their wall to remind themselves of their culture. Also South America, but I picked up in the USA, is this little charming little interior from El Salvador. It's made of a rather delicate porcelain, I think, or just china clay. It's very odd, very modern. It's a little scene of a businessman at the desk, or perhaps a receptionist, but all made out of superb detail, but quite delicate, because you can see the poor old businessman's lost his left arm here. But look at all the details, even to the tiny pins sitting in the pen holder on the desk. Quite extraordinary. And then put the tap back on, and he's closed up. The British got involved with sometime about the 1950s, I think it was. They made a series of interiors from these famous matchboxes. These were the non-safety matches. You had to strike it on a piece of sandpaper. An interior, where each of the three were the famous scenes of London landmarks. We've got the Westminster Bridge with the Tower, with Big Ben. We've got the Tower of London and Tower Bridge. Made of plastic and a little bit cheapy perhaps, but I think the detail is very good, and also it's a very strong perspective by giving a slightly distorted picture. But look at it, especially with one eye closed, you definitely get a sense of a lot of depth in these. Just simple matchboxes made for the tourist trade. I wish they'd make them again. Coming right up to date, a friend of mine who I see every year at Nuremberg Toy Fairs, been there for 75 years he's been exhibiting, or his firm's been going, and he's produced a little version of himself in his workshop, making some of his lovely little wooden toys, all in a little interior. Very cute. Then there's some very nice scenes of nativity. This one is made from a piece of walnut. Plastic on the front, but there's a little scene of Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus and a star above. Quite nicely done. Then a much more exotic version of the Nativity is this one here from Austria, which is in a lovely floral box, very nicely made. And when you open it up, a big thrill. Look at that, superb. The stable is more like a little grotto underneath the village of Bethlehem, it looks like. But a tremendous amount of detail, and lots of flock and trees and houses and animals and the Holy Family in the base. Isn't that superb? A much more exotic and technical interior is this one from Japan called a Humos box, which means really the cosmos in a cube, where you have a peephole here, you have a little bit of a pattern here, and all the rest of it is surface mirrors. When you hold it up to the eye, you get the most extraordinary detail of, it looks like great caverns or like cathedrals going into the distance in every angle. Quite incredible. The sense of space is extraordinary, but it's just done by reflections back and forward. Wonderful effect of optical. It's like a static kaleidoscope, but then you can make a bit of movement by putting your hand over the back and making shadows and light appear. But that is one of my all-time favourite optical toys, I think, the Humos box. And the last interior is something that a friend of mine in the office, his wife was making them, and it's an egg, or two eggs actually. It's got an outer egg and an inner egg. The outer egg had little windows cut in it, the inner egg revolves, and she's painted pictures of birds. That one, and then another one here on this side, and you can see the same thing on the other side. But she's finished it off with lots of little fussy detail, like a little jewel on the top and whatever else. And it's very delicate. I've got to look after it very carefully, but I do treasure that. It's a very fine addition to my collection of Fabergé eggs.